What's going on, y'all? James SP here. Welcome to the James Paul Podcast. And so I love to listen to y'all's comments and the things that you all have to say about some of the episodes that I put out. And so I just released an episode with Miss Talia Ham about her new book, The Dew of God. That's right. And so I'm not going to talk much about it. I'm going to let her kind of give the introduction to it. But I will say this. What was happening was a lot of women were able to identify with the things that she was saying in our previous podcast. And there were other questions that other women and other people that were reading the book were having. And so we were like, you know what? I think it's time for a part 2. But this time we're just going to keep it strictly audio. You know what I mean? So without further ado, Miss Talia, how you doing?
Hello,
Hey.
Mr. James. Thank you for having me on your podcast.
No doubt. Welcome back again. And so clearly a lot of people had seen the first episode that we had done that was on YouTube.
Yes.
And there was a lot of talk about the Dew of God.
Yes, a lot of chatter.
So before we get into some of the questions that other people had, right on top of the questions that I had asked, talk to us about the Dew of God. What is the Dew of God? The book.
The Dew of God is a story of a young lady who is raised in 2 environments, actually. The urban environment, East Orange, New Jersey, and the second environment, Montclair, New Jersey. Both are very known. A lot of people are aware. Queen Latifah is from East Orange.
Right.
Naughty by Nature is from East Orange.
Yeah.
So the young lady in the book has the experience of both worlds. She has the experience from the urban inner city and then also the manicured lawns and living amongst the elite in Montclair, New Jersey.
Okay. All right.
And she meets a young man as an adolescent, the age of 12, and they grow up in church. They grew up in church, which is located in Montclair, New Jersey. And as their friendship evolves, they fall in love around the age of 21 years of age. And then she breaks up with him because she's in love with the guy from the inner city of East Orange. And she breaks up with the church boy. The church boy at the time, I say boy, but of course later, years later, he's a man.
Yeah. Right.
And the guy from the inner city is considered the bad guy or the bad boy. And the guy from Montclair is known as the good guy. And she goes for the bad guy and goes through a lot of trials and tribulations along the way. And she realizes that, hey, being loved gently and respected and that good guy is really what she wants. And so there's a lot of life changes, a lot of things. And she's learning who she's becoming as a woman.
Right.
Because when she gets into the relationship, she's very young. She's only in her 20s. And at that time, she doesn't know who she is. Because you're so young, you're still learning yourself. But she played those roles. And as she became a woman and started becoming her new version of her best self, she realized that she deserved better. And what she really was attracted to and what she really should have been with was that church guy, that church boy at one time. Her best friend is who she should have been with.
Damn. How many women would you say, like, actually, I'm talking to y'all, those who can hear me, that are listening to this podcast. How many of y'all can relate? You know what I mean? Like, how many women can sincerely relate to this topic? I think men can to a degree as well, but I won't go there yet because we're going to focus on. But I do want to peel back the layers though, because I think this is a unique situation that I don't hear people talk about often within this, you know what I mean? Choosing the good guy, the bad guy, or I shouldn't say bad guy, but the bad boy, the good boy, in terms of what's going on in that culture, right?
Right. And it's really more like the image on how the world perceives what the bad guy is. So,
That's
you got
right.
MC Light's song, I Need a Roughneck, a dude with an attitude, and it goes on and on. And there's so many other references from my generation. But I'm
Right.
sure even now, women that are young and in their 20s, we still do have a lot of music that celebrate being outside, whether you're fighting all the time or you're selling drugs, you're the dope boy. There's so many different layers on certain things that people amplify and celebrate.
Right.
And it's never usually the person that is not promiscuous, that's in church, who knows his word, who's raised with his mom and his dad, who's loyal and faithful to his woman. Those things we don't hear in music. We don't see it even sometimes within our own upbringing. So, you have your mom and your grandma, your aunts, and you can kind of see the patterns sometimes that happen that trickle down into the children.
Yeah, yeah. No, you're right. And I remember back in the 90s, when the music really glorified going after the bad boy image, and how that really stuck out. You know what I mean? Like that really, I remember that time, and it changed the dating game for one, I believe,
Right.
because I think at that time it's when there was a clear separation of the type of men that women were becoming attracted to based off of the music.
Right. And you will notice a lot of women that maybe are church girls
Yeah.
that are not hoeing and sleeping around, that, the promiscuous woman, you'll notice
Yeah.
a lot of times their man is completely opposite of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Because really they fall into more of a category as their mom, the mom who's the nurturer, who kind of helps the man,
Yeah.
and the young lady that's going to stay home and raise those children. So you don't want the one that the female that's doing the same thing and mirroring the man being
course.
outside. He
Of course
doesn't want
not.
her. He
No.
wants you. But for us, we don't go after what mirrors our values. We go after the one who we feel like we need to be more motherly with, because they're attracted to that, because they know if they are broken or if it's a trauma bond, we're going to help them. We're going to show them how to do things. And it's almost like raising a man versus it being alignment and you're both equals. It doesn't weigh out like that majority of the time.
Do you think that the women that end up with these type of men are actually dating mama's boys?
Yeah, majority of the time they don't have the fathers in their life. That's majority. And I can only speak from what I've witnessed and the culture in which I was raised in.
Okay.
So majority of those guys did not have their dads. So they're broken. They've been neglected. They've been abused.
Right.
They may have criminal records. They may have to have made tough decisions. Now, it doesn't mean that you're a bad person.
Right. Just made bad decisions.
And it contributes to your upbringing.
Right. There you go.
So
Yep.
you're dealing with the cards that were laid out for you.
Yeah, that you dealt with.
Now, in the book, my bad guy, he was a provider.
Right.
And for him, he didn't have his father in his life. He was raised by just his mom. So I think, and then for me, I too wasn't raised with my dad. And so we both kind of had those things in common.
Yeah.
So it kind of turns into a trauma bond. And I was just kind of raised that you take care of a man in a nurturing way. And it was just, those are all the wrong principles, because when you are an adult and you're playing house, yeah, your husband is supposed to be the lead and the head, and I agree with that, and that a woman's supposed to submit, but then the man has their role on the comfort, the love, the respect, the loyalty, the faithfulness that's supposed to come along with it. But a lot of times you find when they're broken, They don't do that. It's just a matter of what business are you taking care of? Are you taking care of the house? Is the house clean? Did the kids eat? Did you cook? And you
Right.
still have to work.
Yeah.
So you're still contributing. And then you got to cater to them.
Yeah, because it seems it's like the man's role becomes strictly provider.
Absolutely.
And there's nothing wrong with the providing part.
Right.
But then there's more to it.
There's a lot more to a relationship.
Right.
There's a lot more that's involved in a relationship than other than just a paycheck.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is
And
true.
And so sometimes women, we get caught up where we have to be quiet because the man has been taught that if you're providing, what more do you want? I don't need to be showing you compassion and affection and taking you on dates and buying you flowers from time to time and being romantic, or finding out how your day was and listening to you and rubbing your feet. Just a lot of different things, you know, that you need in your companion.
Right.
And it sometimes it turns into more like business.
It becomes more transactional than it does anything else. No, and I really, when you look at society, music, media, entertainment, all of these things, I believe, play a role along with the upbringing and those circumstances as well. But when you have the media that's pushing the total opposite of really what you want, what a woman really wants, it makes it really hard, because in my opinion, what they're doing is selling an image that we're all watching in movies and shows and reality shows and things of that nature, but it does not match what the current woman wants. That's one. And then the second thing is, I also believe that the old model of marriage and relationship from when our parents were dating and doing all that, it doesn't match the times that we're in now.
Right. Well, the times that we're in now is even different than the time that I was in.
Correct.
So the times now is I don't need a man.
Right. Correct.
And I'm going to be with a woman.
Yeah.
That's really the gist of kind of what's going on in
now.
these times.
Yep.
And that's why I think it's important that I wrote the book. And I
Yeah.
hope that the younger generation of women that are coming up in their 20s that are dating, that they have some insight to this book, and that it will provide to them what are some good core values that they should be looking for. And don't just be so quick to dismiss the nice guy, because really when we dismiss it, what happens is you go through 10 years, 15 years, 20 years,
Yeah.
and then you realize
Yeah, you got to
that
talk right into that mic for me there.
you're not being
you
treated with the level of respect
Yeah.
that you deserve to be treated with. And the one that is so nice and gentle, we reject. And we really need to identify why we do that.
Yeah. That's a good question. Why? Why, women? Why do y'all do that? For those of you that are listening, I would really love to hear your response to that. What is it that would make you be attracted to, I guess, the bad boy image?
Yeah, the only thing that I know, for speaking for myself, was that it was attractive because it was a challenge, because there was other women that also wanted that same person, because that person could fight, and I knew that person would protect me, versus like kind of, you come up with your cousins and your uncles and your brothers, and you
Right.
see these images of men that won't have a problem. You don't know if the church guy is going to protect you if you're walking in New York, you know what I mean, at the subway. But it's a myth, because really, just because he goes to church and he comes from a good background doesn't mean that he won't get down
Yeah,
and protect you.
That is definitely a
So
myth.
we put these stereotypes on our own brothers that are so false.
That is such a myth, y'all. Don't be so quick to sleep on the dude that's so quiet, or the church dude, and think that he won't whip ass. Sadly mistaken.
Right. And then you can have people that are broken that still will be a coward. Still not going to do it. So,
Right.
You know, but you see these tough guys, and we just feel like, and then when they have conversations with you and they pour out their hearts to you and they say that they're broken, you just want to love on them. Like it's like finding a stray cat or a dog or something. And you're like, oh, you're broken. You know, I can help. I can fix you. But then they resent you as time goes on. And when you have an argument or a confrontation, the first thing that man's going to say to you is, you're trying to change me.
Yeah.
And you can deny that you're trying to change him because you're trying to mold him into what you want, which was that softness and that church guy and the guy that wasn't ripping and running in the streets and the guy that wasn't cheating and being promiscuous. But that was never who he was. And you're trying to mold him into that, so then he begins to resent you because the first thing that he's going to say is, you're trying to change me.
Ladies,
don't try to change me.
Let me ask them that. Ladies, is that right? Is what Miss Talia is saying right now correct? Do y'all find yourselves trying to change and mold the man into the man that you want him to be, rather than just accepting him for where he is and making that work? I do wonder about that because, yeah, I do hear, when the fellas are talking, right, some of them will express that, trying to change me type scenario. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. I don't know that women and men are really ready to have that type of conversation yet.
Well, it's very true.
It needs to be had, though. Seriously,
right?
But no, I do understand what you're saying about that. But the beauty in it, I believe, is when you have two different folks that find ways to make it merge. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Make the relationship work within the differences, because then that's when everything becomes more colorful. Imagine everybody being the same in a relationship. That is some boring stuff. I almost said something else. Mm-hmm. Would you agree?
I would agree, but I think more what I'm speaking on is those basic common things.
Yeah.
Like, if I go to church and I'm into church and maybe you're not into church, I don't have to push church, right?
Right.
But if I'm loyal and I'm faithful, I would expect my partner to be loyal and faithful. Now, we don't have to like the same food and like the same color and, the same movies.
Right.
It's just the core basic of the foundation. And when the foundation isn't strong, it will show cracks.
True.
And a lot of times when those foundation crack, women will protect and lie and put on a facade that it's perfect. And I have done that many years.
True that. I can see that for sure. And I think what you're saying and what I'm alluding to definitely go hand in hand, because the foundational things, without the proper foundation, you really have nothing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And then it's the small things within the relationship that women are trying to fix.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In the relationship, which have nothing to do with the foundational part, but it has everything to do with maybe the character or the way that the person thinks,
right, or
the way that they may do something. Or sometimes it may even just be their love language, two totally different love languages. Right. You follow what I mean? Mm-hmm. And one's trying to change the other. And then I believe at some point, even whether it's foundational or small little stuff, I often hear, and you mentioned this in the last podcast, which was losing yourself, your identity.
Right.
Can you talk to us about that a little bit?
Well, so what will happen? Well, in the book,
right,
the character lost herself completely with everyone else's identity. So in the book, she also has children, and then she has the husband. And so sometimes when you start hearing that you're complaining a lot, you silence yourself, and then you internalize everything that you're unhappy about. Now, on the outside, people can see that you seem bitter or angry, because really deeply rooted in there is also a lot of hurt, because you're not being honest and you're not being authentic, and you're not walking in an authentic manner. You're really just being silent, and you're molding yourself so that the relationship can work.
Does it start off with the silent, or does it or does the woman eventually become silent?
She eventually becomes silent.
Why?
Because in the beginning it's so fresh, so you can express yourself openly, but then when you really want that relationship to work and you hear your partner complaining about it, or then the decision is, you know what, I'm going out, and the partner comes back the next day because he's upset because you've expressed yourself, and then you can't call and reach because the phone goes straight to voicemail. You're stuck between a rock and a hard place. Am I going to continue to complain about certain things, or am I going to be silent so that he doesn't want to leave and say he's going out or whatever? Or what do I do to prevent a fight or altercation because I'm upset that I didn't know where he was for this length of time?
All right, so let me paint this picture. I want to make sure I got this correct. So let's say the woman, right? We're talking about lady in the book. She is feeling some kind of way, and she approaches her man, the man that she's with, her husband or whatever in the book, right?
Right.
And then he gets upset, and his response, rather than to deal or to just have a conversation, is I'm leaving, and then it's gone for the night. And even though that this lady is reaching out to her husband, he's totally ignoring the phone.
Yeah, he'll deal with it later.
So then he comes back, we'll say 24 hours? Mm-hmm. 24 hours later. And so this repetitive act causes her to begin to shut down and get quiet, is what you're saying.
Right.
Got it.
Because in between that, and that doesn't just happen like overnight, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes it can be small things, and you can just see how that person withdraws.
Yeah.
Really is conflict resolution. And a lot of times people don't know how to just deal with don't have problem solving skills to sit down as adults and really iron out what the issue is. So a lot of times people will flee. Now, the woman can't do that.
Tell us why.
Because he will leave you. If he is under any suspicion that you are having an affair or any form of infidelity, he will leave. But the woman tends to put up with that a little bit more than men. And that is another eye opener as to why we are willing just to not be the bad person, not to be the person that breaks up the home, not to be the person to leave, or fear of loneliness, that we rather stay and just argue and fight and have that toxic relationship that's unhealthy.
Yo, she hit something, y'all. Because think about it, right? Let's say, fellas, I'm talking to y'all fellas right now. Well, I guess women too, y'all are listening. But you get into an argument, right, and it gets heated, and then you just decide, I'm out. Now imagine it in reverse, right? You get into it with your lady, and your lady is like, I'm out. And then just bounces. And you're stuck there in the house with the baby. You're stuck in the house with the baby and all that, and she's gone for 24 hours. You trying to call her, she's not responding. You know what's going through our minds. I can tell you now, if I'm in that situation, what? Man, listen. Yeah. So I do understand that. That is one of those scenarios. It is a double standard. I'm not even going to try to defend that.
Right.
You know what I mean? It is what it is. But I do understand how that can eventually break a woman down.
Right. And then you have, and you hit on this on the first podcast.
What's that?
The roles can always be reversed.
It
can
true.
always be that guy who's doing the cooking, who's doing the cleaning, who's working and providing, and the female wants to go out, likes to go out, maybe overindulge in activities or whatever, or cheating and having the infidelity in a relationship. And the man wants it so bad that he forgives her and continues and he stays.
Yeah.
And he's not being treated with respect, love, and loyalty.
That is a real thing. That is a real thing. Yes, it is. You're right. Wow. So then, okay. So in this book, we understand there is this climax where she gets to this point, and then what happens? What causes this woman to actually start thinking about, I need to change?
Her daughters.
Talk to me.
Her daughter.
And yeah. Go ahead. I'll talk. I'm gonna write down my next question because I have another one. As soon as you said your daughter,
Okay.
you said the daughters.
Daughters. So when you have children and your daughters are dating and they're teenagers and they start to date and they're vocal and they start to ask those tough, hard questions. In the book, she was faced with some hard questions from the daughters. One question, for example, may have been, Mom, where's Dad? And the response is, I don't know. Or something sarcastic, in his skin, I don't know. I don't keep up with where he is.
Damn.
And the response from the daughter is, why don't you know where your husband is? It's 11:30 at night and he's not working.
Yeah.
Or what type of guy, or asking advice about somebody that they're dating. Your daughters are the mirror, and then they kind of put it up to your face to make you look at yourself, and you say, wow, how can I give them advice about the type of man that they're supposed to be with when I'm being neglected, or they see my tears and they see the silent hurt that I go through, or they've overheard things, because we always think that the children don't see anything, they don't hear anything, they don't know anything.
Right.
It's a facade. They hear everything.
Yeah.
You could be as young as my grandbaby at 5 years old. She's very much aware of what is going on in the household.
Oh, yeah.
So teenagers that are dating 17, 18, 19 years old, and they have their boyfriends, they ask those tough questions. And so I think for the character in the book, that really was when it was like, I have to put myself first. I can't keep living a lie of acting like I'm happy when I know I'm hurting and I'm not happy. And it's time to make a tough decision, regardless of what people will say, because people can put pressure on you from the outside that's not even in the household about staying and not leaving your relationship. And then you just feeling like you have that judgment on you, like you're a bad person. But it comes to a point where you just have to put yourself first and not care about what other people's perceptions are, or what they're going to say, or their feedbacks, because it's your life. And everybody may have an opinion about your life and what you should do. But at the end of the day, you have to be honest and authentic with yourself. If not, you're just putting on a facade and you're not happy and you're living in that.
Yeah. I can definitely tell you, just from certain conversations with people, so many folks are still in the situation that they're in out of fear of what other people would think.
Right.
I don't give a damn what other people think, because they're not the one in your situation.
Yeah, but it's really hard.
It is very hard.
I mean, it takes a level of courage, and a lot of times people just don't have that.
Yeah.
They really care about the opinion of others. And if you care about the opinion of others, you're living really for them and not for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
But I know in the book there was a lot of backlash for the character making that decision.
Yeah. Well, before we get to that, I wrote something down when you said the daughters. I wrote this down because the daughters are not asking a question for no reason. You know what I mean? Like, whenever your child is watching you, like specifically in that scenario, right? They're in the home and they're watching this little struggle or this little thing that doesn't make sense to them. They're asking questions because without answers, they're doomed to repeat the same cycle.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so your answer and how you move really determines whether they remain in that same loop that you're in.
But that's what provides her with the strength.
Yeah.
Because also the character broke her mother's cycle, right? And then when you start realizing, like, hey, I'm in this loop and I'm in a circle, and now I have my daughters, I have to show them, not tell them. Right. I have to live by it. And leaving was living by it. And a lot of people may have been hurt in the long run, right? Because children still going to want the family together and the unity overall of what makes you happy or not. But leaving spoke volumes, and it was respected in the end. Maybe not in the beginning, a lot of tears, but ultimately it's like, wow, I'm proud of you. And I've heard that. And,
Yeah. It's not easy.
Right.
That's definitely not an easy thing to do. But you do hear that, and not many people have the courage to do that, especially when it comes to different cultures. I'm Haitian, and in the Haitian culture, you could ask any Haitian person, they never leave. What? They will sleep in the basement or create a whole nother apartment in the house or another suite, and that becomes their thing, and they just coexist, and they're okay with that.
I mean, in the black community too.
Yeah.
In the black community too. I mean, I know firsthand of women that have stayed and they've been physically abused.
Yeah.
And they've stayed and have no intentions on leaving.
And this is not to say, I'm not sitting here promoting leaving or staying. You decide to do whatever it is that you want to do, but you do have to understand that if you're in a toxic situation and your children are watching, if it doesn't change, then they're doomed to pretty much
repeat history, repeating itself.
Repeat it. And so if you want better for them, then I guess it's just a matter of setting the right example, huh?
Yeah, but not even for them.
For yourself first.
That plays a major role in it.
For them.
But
for you.
Really for you. Really for you.
Yep.
Loving yourself. People really don't understand what that means. And it's not about leaving if you can't get something or leaving if somebody doesn't buy you something. It's deeper than that.
Yeah. I use the analogy of when you're on a plane, and the stewardess, they come out and they do that demonstration. And the thing that stuck out to me is when they said, the first time that I heard it is when they said, when the mask drops, you have to first put it on you.
Right.
Before you put it on the baby.
Right.
Because if you can't, what good is it to put it on the baby and you're not good enough to help the baby? You got to put it on yourself first. Right. You got to think about yourself first.
Right.
Just like you're saying in the book.
Right.
Without changing you and having a better you're nothing to anyone else.
And like I mentioned before, sometimes that may require you being alone.
Yeah. It's the best thing. I know for me, going through my divorce, being alone at a certain point was very important because you have to relearn yourself.
Right.
You become a certain person for the spouse that you're with. There's just no way around that shit.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so then when a divorce happens, all you know is what you've been for that many years.
Absolutely.
Now you're alone, and the readjustment has to happen.
Right.
Because you can't try to date somebody
right.
with the same old shit that you was doing with your wife.
Right.
Like, it doesn't work.
Your identity gets lost in the other person.
Oh, man.
Your identity, you lose your identity.
Big time. You don't realize how much of it you've lost.
Right.
Until you're alone.
It's like you start when you're alone and you're like, what food do I like?
Right.
Do I enjoy going to the movies?
Yep.
Or do I not enjoy going to the movies?
Yeah. Am I okay with eating alone?
Am I okay eating alone? It's silent.
Yes. But that has become like the best thing.
You learn yourself.
Word.
And especially if you enter marriage in your 20s. I mean, what do you really know?
Yeah.
She was in her 20s. Wow. What do you really know outside of being a teenager and a child?
You don't really know much. You don't. And so, man, but I had to touch on that, with the daughter's part, because it's so important that we understand whether we're contributing to the loop or whether we're actually being the ones to stop the loop.
Right.
Right. Very important. Very, 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 very important. So tell us more about the book. So now she she begins to have this transformation, right? She's looking in the mirror clearly because the daughters are asking questions. She's having to make some hardcore decisions. And of course, getting the backlash with it. But where does that lead her?
Well, it leads her in solitude for a while. She begins to start doing things to heal, because even though she left, that's not like you're not broken. So you can be the one to walk away and still be broken and hurt, especially when it affects other people, right? Children, per se. And she gets into therapy and she sits alone, and then she starts to pray more, get into her word a little bit, start meditating, start going a little bit down a spiritual rabbit hole that helps her along with therapy, and then becomes a better version of herself. And then what happens is, and you have to read the book, of course, because I don't want to reveal too much.
Yeah.
But she has a full circle encounter with the guy from church that she knew since she was 12.
The good guy.
After, of course, her healing journey. So I don't want to leave that out. But she definitely has to go through the trenches of what healing looks like for her, sitting alone.
Speaking of the healing part, I wrote this down. The therapy. Well, I hear this a lot in the Black community, that most of us just don't go and get therapy. They won't sit down and talk to someone for the fear of what? I don't know. Someone getting in your business or whatever. Who knows? But
right, because we're raised not to talk.
Or
complain.
But let me tell you, when you can sit and talk to someone openly and know that they're talking back to you without judgment, you know what I mean? It's to help. That stuff, that is really a huge step towards healing.
Right. And then in therapy, what I don't think a lot of people realize, and they feel like it's a waste of time, therapists are skilled to ask you questions for you to answer.
Right.
They don't provide the answers to you, right? So my therapy was 1.5 years, and it started off like two days out of the week, and then gradually over time it was once a week, then it turned into once a month until my sessions, we felt like it was good, we were good. But my therapist always asked me the question, and I've never had anybody, family, friends, ever ask me questions that I had to answer. And then when you hear yourself answering these questions, it's like, it's homework assignments, and it's just so therapeutic, because after you hear it, then you really begin to hold yourself accountable. And I touched on that when you asked before about you can't blame the bad guy. You can't look for love in the good guy, right? You gotta understand yourself wholeheartedly. And when a therapist asks you certain questions and you start answering it, that's how you hold yourself accountable, because it's out there in the universe. You've heard it. You've heard your own answer. And that's how you start doing the homework.
You're right. You're right about that. Let me tell you, and therapy looks different for different people, different situations. I know for me, mine was a little unique because the sitting down in an office thing just doesn't work for me. Excuse me. It really doesn't. So my therapist was a little different, where you had to be able to, for me, it felt like you had to be able to match my energy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get that. I didn't have that experience because mine was telehealth.
Okay.
And it was during the pandemic.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
all of my appointments, started in 2020,
right,
was online, and I could see her face, but it was just so different.
Oh,
I never went to an office.
Gotcha.
And it was convenient because if you are a business owner or in corporate America or just have a very demanding lifestyle in which the character did at that time,
Yeah.
I don't have time to go to anybody's office. But if I can do it while I'm at work and just close my office door and talk to you, the therapy session be an hour, and I just say, look, I put an out of office thing on my door and say I can't talk, or you can't enter or something like that.
Gotcha.
But so I never had to sit face to face, and I never did couples therapy.
Oh yeah.
I attempted to do that, and it was one session online, and then that was it because the partner was like, "I'm not doing this. You need therapy."
See, yeah.
I guess I do
Yeah.
because I'm still here.
No, but for me, my experience was really cool, and I honestly I feel like therapists for men should be the way mine was because it was out of the office for one.
Now, was this solo? Like I'm asking the question
Yeah,
now, right? Okay.
Solo, yeah.
It was solo.
Yeah,
Okay.
it was solo, but we would hang out. It was like a real chilled situation. We'd hang out and talk, and there'd be times where the conversations would get real. Like he'd say
They ask hard questions.
Yeah. But these questions would really cause me to think in a way where the responsibility is just on you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because you've made the decision.
Absolutely.
You've decided.
Right.
No one's forced you to do anything. So now
Right.
you need to start addressing
Holding yourself accountable.
Yeah. Why?
Right.
And so for me that worked. You know what I mean? Having that type of that matching energy where this person could just get up in my face and say certain things to me and vice versa. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I remember I threatened them one time.
Oh God. I never did that.
So you see what I'm saying? Like we really got that serious into because men, I believe it's a little different.
Okay.
Not every man is willing to just have a conversation where it's just calm. Some folks just want to express brute energy. That's just how they do, I mean, it is what it is.
Right.
And so I believe all of those opportunities should be available.
Okay.
Not just the walk into an office.
Yeah.
Sit on a couch.
That's unique. I've never heard that before.
Yeah, I don't know. I almost want to give him a plug right now, but I'm not sure if I should, so I'm going to hold back for now.
Okay.
But if the men want to know, hit me up. I'll tell y'all.
Okay.
One-on-one, But so let's get back to that. She has therapy, right? She's going through therapy. And where does that lead her? And especially with the daughters.
It leads her to be a happier, more wholesome version of herself, and then a more softer, feminine version of herself. Because for all of those years, she was really more into survival mode and healing everyone else and serving everyone else and being there for everyone else and not herself. And so walking away and leaving and then doing the work and receiving the therapy and healing that she needed, she's freer, she's happier, she has peace, and it looks and shows up differently on her in a soft feminine way. Whereas though before it wasn't so much that she had masculine energy, but she didn't really explore that soft, gentle side of her because as a mom and as a wife and a daughter and all of these other roles that she had on herself, it was always about just really serving everyone else. And part of having feminine energy.
Well, speaking of that, though, actually, to me, I kind of think that was a little bit of masculine energy because when you're having to deal with that kind of energy, you know what I mean?
You match it. You do.
Yeah.
Because it's not like she was a puppet or a weak woman,
exactly.
so to say.
You have to.
Like if there's an argument or a confrontation, she definitely was matching the energy.
You see?
And a lot of things would be thrown and broken and not
So-
so pretty stuff.
Right.
So
in
I
many
guess
ways,
it was.
She was
it was
masculine. Yes.
I don't like to say that about the character, but I believe,
Yeah,
so
that's how I see it.
she graduated into
Yeah.
a more softer version of herself,
Which is great.
which she shows up in a different light for her friends and her family, and people could just see how happy and how peace she is,
Yeah,
and how
that's nice.
soft she's become. Whereas though previously, she was the one that wasn't taking no mess, but yet dealing with mess. And that's what's so ironic about it. You can be tough and mouthy and confrontational,
Right.
but when you're broken and you just still stay, it's a very unhealthy environment.
Yeah. Like, excuse me. Listening to you talk, it reminds me of sometimes when I'm scrolling, like on social media, right? And I'll see groups of women just all out in a brawl, just getting it.
Mm-hmm.
And it'll make me, I'll ask myself, like, wow, where, this is so much masculine energy that we're watching right now.
It's them having always being in survival mode.
Man.
They're not with the man that's going to cater and love them softly, because when you have that, you don't need to be that way. It's unnecessary. And that's how you can tell who and how people's relationships are, by looking at things like that.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, you can really tell. For one, they wouldn't be in those situations.
Right.
Anyway.
It's not cute.
Yeah.
I don't glorify it at all. And those were not my the character's proudest moments, and she speaks on that too. She speaks on you have to read it, but she does shed light on her not showing up in her most positive light out of hurt and anger. And a lot of it still stems back from the environment in which you were raised. You're raised around violence, you're raised around confrontation, you're raised around certain things. Sometimes you kind of, that bleeds into who you are and what you're doing until you really take a step back and thank God, have enough neglect and enough exhaustion where you say, I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
And then when you have people holding you accountable, like your daughters, and you're giving them advice, and you sound like a hypocrite.
So
and
a
a lot of women are hypocrites.
Okay, well, let's touch on that.
Well, it's easy for us to tell you what you should and shouldn't do and who you should and shouldn't date.
Yeah.
But then when you look at our partner, it's like, well, why are you doing it?
Yeah, that's one. Yeah, that's the mirror effect that you talked about.
That's the mirror effect.
Yep. Yeah, I get that. I just had a train of thought that just escaped me while you were talking. That makes sense. And so, now I got it. You mentioned your daughters, right? That's. What do you think it would be like? Or what about the son? Did the son ever ask any questions that would cause her to start looking in the mirror as well? Does it affect her in a different way?
The son?
Yeah.
So the son.
How did he see it? What was his perspective of all of this?
His perspective mirrored a lot of his dad. No matter really what, you just kind of stick together. And he was very supportive of his dad, but he has a protectiveness over his mom. So if there was any times where the dad may be getting out of line, or he look at the mom and see a little bit of fear behind her eyes, then he would always intervene. But overall, the son really predominantly wanted everybody to stay together, kind of just very hopeful. Whereas though the girls were like, you deserve better.
Yeah, as most boys are like that.
Yeah.
Young men. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of ride or die for dad. Mm-hmm. However, you still have to act right, or
but the loyalty is there with mom for sure. But
yeah,
I totally understand that.
And so he understood why the character did and left when she did. He understands that, and he also knows how to treat a woman based off of what he's seen and witnessed, and knows how to love a woman, and how loyalty and faithfulness is very important, because he saw the downfalls of not being loyal and faithful.
Yeah. So then, okay, what would you say the overall message is to the reader?
So for the reader, I would say, don't feel like you need to fix a man, because they will eventually resent you for trying to fix them. Be with the person that treats you with respect, loyalty, and that is going to be faithful to you. And if you are in a relationship and you're not happy in that relationship, don't waste any more of your partner's time or your time, because life, we do say, is short, and you deserve to be happy. And if walking away is going to provide you with that happiness and that peace, regardless of what anybody else says, then I hope that you find the courage to walk away. And there's nothing wrong with that.
You touched on something that I'm probably getting ready to rock the boat on, but yeah, why not? Let's explore it a little bit.
Okay.
You said you deserve to be happy, and I agree. Now, there are, in the Christian faith, they are not so, how can I put this? They can care less about the happy part. It's all about what God says. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, I don't know. Let me think about that. That's a really good question.
You know what I mean? Because
that's a really good question. I have to ponder on that for a little bit. But, you see a lot of people in the church that are also in these relationships and married and very miserable.
Right.
And very unhappy. A lot of times it shows up in gluttony.
Yeah, it does.
And you can see that they're just not very happy with their partners. And I understand, growing up in the church, that leaving is never recommended. Even if things become very toxic or abusive, they're going to always encourage you to stay. And I don't feel like God, source, or how things are going with the universe, whoever you pray to, I can't believe that that's aligned with God's values to stay in any relationship that's harmful, neglectful, or a person being in a relationship where infidelity should be allowed,
right,
because we've taken vows before God. I feel like God does not want anybody to be unhappy. I feel like God is a just God. God is a loving God. And having peace is closer to God. If
right.
You're living in a toxic environment, which brings stress that affects your health, and you're miserable in this relationship, I can't see why God would say that that's okay, because in order to get closer to God, you have to have a light heart. To get closer to God and have that fulfillment, you have to be at peace. I don't see how one mirrors the other saying stay when it pulls you away from God.
Yeah.
Now that's just my belief. I'm not a scholar. I can't break the Bible down and tell you verbatimly what it says and what it doesn't, but these are my beliefs. I feel like the version of the character that she's in now, she's closer to God. She has a stronger spiritual awakening with God. She's more at peace. She prays more. She, listens to her gospel music more than she ever did when she was unhappy, because a lot of times in that relationship, being unhappy and going through having the toxic relationship, I feel like it pulled her further away from God. It pulled her, it definitely, in the book, it pulled her further away from God. Now, just because you attend church every Sunday doesn't mean that you're closer or further from God. But if you have a heavy heart and you have that stress and you're not happy and you're not at peace, I feel like you're not that close to God.
Well, now I'm playing,
devil's advocate.
Yeah, on purpose. And the reason why I'm doing this is because there's a lot of folks who actually who want to have these conversations, but don't have the guts to have them.
Courage.
They
Right.
don't have the courage to have them. They won't confront their pastors,
Right.
nor will they stand up and say it. But I agree. I agree that I just can't see God wanting you to remain in a toxic situation and yet expect you to be happy in life and approach him with all this happiness while when you're looking at your reality, it's shit.
Well, and then fear,
Come on, man.
fear is not of God,
Nah,
right?
nah.
And they speak a lot in the Bible about fear not being of God. But if you are in a relationship
Yep.
that has gone left, and there are some things that bring fear into your heart with your partner,
you need to change that.
Exactly.
You need to change that. Whatever that change looks like to you. But I'm definitely not riding with stay in it.
Right. Me either.
Unless it is a choice that I have decided to make without the influence. Mm-hmm. Then that's a whole different that's a whole different ball game. You know what I mean? Because now I'm fighting because I've chosen to, period.
Right. Versus being guilt tripped.
Yeah.
Because people will guilt trip you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that goes back to the judgment of people.
Yeah. Correct. What people think and what they will say. Yeah. Whatever with that. But no, I just wanted to touch on that because, again, it is a topic that, fellas, we do have. And, some of y'all just won't openly have them, and that's fine. But I can because I've got a microphone.
Yes, you do. And a platform.
So I'm going to do that. But no, and the reason why I'm bringing that up is because, again, it's part of the loop. Okay. Part of the loop and part of the trauma bonding and all that, I believe, is also related to what we hear in church.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Especially a black church.
Yeah. Right. Especially in the black church.
That's where I learned to be silent, was church. Everything stemmed from church and my upbringing. You don't talk about your problems in your house. No matter what your husband does, you don't leave. And all of those things created that fear. Mm-hmm. I was terrified to open up my mouth. Fear of judgment. And then when you do, you get backlash.
Well, yeah. Yeah.
So we were taught very young. And that goes even deeper with the church because it can be also abuse with children. Coming up, if a child was sexually abused and it was a family member or whatever the case may be, it's always be quiet and don't say anything. And that stemmed from, for me, not saying everybody, I can't speak for everybody's upbringing when it comes to the church. But for me, I learned how to be quiet because of my upbringing in church.
Well, yeah. I could see that for sure. And within the culture, because you even hear it, even down to just the street level of not snitching.
Right.
And I'm not saying that a person should, and, I'm not getting into all that because it's not my lifestyle, nor do I claim any of that, Mm-hmm. But if you've got some information that needs to be, talked about,
mm-hmm.
you need to share it, for one. But two, going back to the church, unfortunately, you're right. You do hear about a lot of these things, like these movies, right? What's that film? Greenleaf?
Yeah, Greenleaf. Yeah, that's about Calvary.
Uh-huh.
The name of the church was New Calvary.
Yeah, in Greenleaf? Get
yes.
out. Word?
Yes.
Ain't that something? So, but like the amount of drama, right?
Yes.
I didn't follow it, but every once in a while I'd watch it. And that show depicts a lot of what actually goes on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the drama behind it. No, if wrong is wrong. You don't stay in and just keep hoping that God's going to, after 10, 20, 15 years or whatever it is. If it's just not right, it's just not right. If it's just not a right fit, it's just not a right fit. Sometimes we make mistakes.
Right.
You know, sometimes we just made a bad decision.
Right.
That's it. Or sometimes, well, yeah, I almost went there, but I'll leave it right there. Yeah.
And then I think the thing about bad decisions, right? In my opinion, those bad decisions are life lessons, and they teach you and they build character.
Yes.
So even in the midst of the book, Do of God, and her choosing to be with the bad guy, she learned the bad boy.
You ain't gonna say bad guy.
Yeah, the bad boy. She still learned tremendous life lessons that build a certain type of character within herself.
Can you share some of those lessons with us?
Well, I mean, basic lessons, like two.
Yeah, give me two, at least two. Because our listeners, you know what I mean? I know we've got some women right now that are listening to this. And
well, she was with him at a very young age.
Okay.
She was in the book. She's with him at a young age. She doesn't know how to cook.
Okay. Gotcha.
He taught her how to cook. His family taught her how to cook. Right? She also learns how to drive. He taught her how to drive. Oh. He taught her how to speak up and not take any mess when it comes to certain people out in the street, which may not be a positive light, but when it came to women or men, you know, you make sure you stand up and you do what you have to do.
No, that is a positive light.
You know, and then just having the family dynamics where the man is providing and you're raising the kids and different things like that, you know, because she was with him, you know, you got to realize this character is not in this relationship at 30 and 40.
Okay.
Where you would think she would have acquired some certain skill sets. Okay. You know, even going into corporate America, it was the partner who taught her kind of how to do Excel and how to do PowerPoint presentations. That influence kind of helped with her career launch. So there was some life lessons there along the way that made her, I feel like, a very good mom, a very good mother, in which how she set the core values and being in the house.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I reference when I say, even though when it comes to her receiving anything, she may not have gotten it, but when it comes to structure and responsibility, she was very strong and good at that when it came to that.
Okay. And I believe also that there's always lessons in every situation, and when you learn the lesson, it prevents you from having to repeat the same thing over and over again. Mm-hmm. So that's dope that you did.
And one of the big lesson, I can't get my words straight. The big lesson is knowing those red flags when a man is cheating on you. She didn't know that before, but she know it now.
If you didn't know before, you know now.
Yeah. So, even in the midst of neglect or not loving on the character the way she needed to be loved on, some of the red flags and the trauma, and they're not, it's nothing to be kind of to boast about, but when you've been through it, then then it makes you a better version of yourself going into your next relationship. You know what to look for. You know the red flags.
Right. Well, now I want to back up a little bit because you said what to look for versus when it shows up. See, I think when you're looking for something, you're still taking a little bit of the baggage, but when the red flag just appears or shows up and you're not looking for it, you can identify with it.
I think that was my intent.
Gotcha. I'm just listen. I'm playing advocate here for my viewers.
It.
You know what I'm saying? I got to do this. I got to be neutral here and give it all angles.
Yes.
Because I can just give James his views. You know what I'm saying?
Right. But no, you're right. Not so much that you're looking for it, but when it shows up, you can identify it.
Yes.
Because you've been through it before.
Right. Because once the healing process happens, you're no longer looking for it.
Right. Right.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
when it appears.
Right.
If it appears.
Yeah, when it appears, it's a red flag. You be like, hell nah, I know what this is. Yeah, so I'm with you 100% there. This is a good book and a very good story.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Paul.
Going back for a second to the music, because I don't think we stayed there long enough. And so
Right.
I want to go there for a second. I remember back in the days when, I don't know if it was Fat Man Scoop.
Fat Man Scoop.
Fat Man Scoop. Yeah, those dudes, right? You remember their music would be blasting at the parties, right? The local parties. And he would be like, if you, hey ladies, you know what I'm saying? And put your hands up. And then he would say something like, if you make your own money and you don't need no man, everybody say, oh yeah.
Oh,
shit.
yeah.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I remember the very first time that I started hearing that. And I was at a party. I probably was at in college, one of my college parties or something like that. And I heard that, and I immediately thought how divisive that was. Because I saw it. Like, once you started, because I watched how the women got together. They just bonded in the whole room.
Yeah.
And it just X'd
Music
all
is
the
powerful.
men. Yeah, and it X'd all the men out. And I was like, oh shit.
No, even before then, nobody was dating the light skinned guy.
Yeah. Yep. They even
The
controlled
pretty
that
boys.
joint. Yeah, the pretty boys.
We called them the pretty boys. We wanted the dude that was dark, wearing his Timbs, standing on a corner. If you were light skinned, like the Albie Shores.
But let's not ignore they had their run. I think first, actually.
They did.
If I'm
They
correct,
did.
yeah, they had it. You know,
But
you
it
had the
goes to show
Shamar
that
Mars, whatever
it's-
his name is. I don't know what
Yeah.
this guy's name is, but you know what I'm talking about. Light skinned dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's when they had all. That's when the pretty.
The Barge.
Yep. So you see how music really influenced.
Yeah. Just like media.
Yeah.
It does something with our mindset where we just look at it differently, and then we start moving according to the algorithm of what's going on.
Yeah.
And it plants the seed and it festers.
I talk about that. That's one of the things that I would say, I would mention on social media is we are trained on how to think. They tell us how to think on social media, not on just social media, but on the radio and on television, everywhere you look.
Right.
I'm in marketing. Like I people think that I'm on some I'm just speaking because of, the side that I may choose as it relates to political on the political arena. But I'm speaking just generally on what our kids or what we consume daily.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
All they need to do is give us a specific algorithm. Really, if you really pay attention, your algorithm is based off of the patterns that you speak and you search, and it will continue to give you more of that. It's just like the relationship we're talking about, right? The minute you do something different to break the pattern, to break the loop,
Right.
now you become exposed to something more.
Right. I think that's why it was so, hard for the character to leave, because the character knew well in advance that she should have.
Right.
But it was frowned upon. That's
Yeah.
not something that you're supposed to do.
Everything around you, your environment tells you this is supposed to be normal.
Right.
But inwardly,
I mean, even when you have the seniors and you seek counsel from them and they also tell you the same thing, where do you go from there? When you have a grandma
Yeah,
who
you can't
also
blame 'em.
says, hey, listen, men are going to cheat. Get over it. Did he pay the rent? Yes, but we'll get over it.
And there's some women, there are some women that are very okay with that. They don't want nothing else but the rent paid, some money, and all that. And kudos to you.
They'll say it. Yeah. Especially now.
Hey.
I mean, I think more now.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Yep.
Because then what they do is then they just go out and have their little side piece.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. It's yep. Now you've got
But it wasn't what the character wanted at all.
right.
The character wanted the loyalty and the faithfulness.
Correct. And she, well, does she get it?
You got to buy the book.
Y'all, I'm trying to ask these questions that I think y'all might ask. You know what I'm saying? I'm really trying to go in here. I'm trying to go in on her with it. But okay, no, you're right. You're right. So, what inspired you to write this book? As my phone goes off, see, they know we're recording. It's all right. Keep going.
I feel what inspired me to write was, it had always been instilled in me something within myself where I enjoyed writing. And I mentioned this on the podcast as far as, the diaries. I passed the stage of the journaling phase where people started, embracing that and saying that you need to journal. So the seed was in me as a child, but once the character, she leaves corporate America and tries to find a new path for her new identity and her new life, and she meditates, and it comes to her that, her story is worth telling. And then she just goes for it, and she's encouraged to go for it. And that encouragement, it was a spark, and here we are, 2 books in. 2 books in and plan to continue.
That's good. That's good. And where does this desire to write books come from?
I don't know. I have to think about that. The desire, where did it come from?
Yeah, like some people, some people just already have the thing to write, right? They like to be right. They just like to write. But then there's those who may write based off of experience or somebody else's experience. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I don't know. I just feel like the only thing that I can put together and articulate is that in the book, the character has a lot of childhood trauma. And as I mentioned previously, being brought up in the environment, the urban environment, and in the church, being told to be silent, the writing was the only thing where she could get it out and communicate what her childhood trauma was. And when she found herself writing a lot as a child, it became very therapeutic to write down everything because there was no one to talk to. And then years later, after going through everything that she's experienced in life and finding her new self and her new identity, it's through meditation and through good friendships. She was encouraged that, hey, you should write your story, you should write a book. And once she started, she knew, once you have to just start. So if you feel like you have a story or it's always been a desire, all you have to do is start on page 1 and then it'll just flow naturally. And then I was like, wow, this is my niche.
Yes. I love it.
I didn't really know it at the time, but God has a way of revealing things to you as you peel back those layers on that onion, has a way of getting to the core. This is who you are. This is what you were meant to do. This is who you're becoming, who you were always supposed to be. And it'll flow naturally, and because there's no resistance.
Yeah. Yeah. So, which leads to my next question, which is you also started Do of God Publishing.
Yes.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So I was doing my research and receiving a lot of price quotes from publishing companies. And I just said, I wonder what it takes to start my own publishing company. And because now I'm going down this avenue of entrepreneurship versus not working for anyone anymore. And I did my research and I started my own publication company and published 2 of my books and then publishing other people's books as well.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Writing is extremely therapeutic for one. And then 2, if you don't write anything down, then what proof of history that will exist? You know what I'm saying?
Right. I can leave that book for my children, grandchildren, great grandchildren.
Correct. Excuse me. Let me have a drink. Yeah, correct. I mean, it's good to read. It's definitely good to read, and it's definitely good to be able to leave something behind that someone can actually read, go back and look, and have. I remember the days of before all the responsibilities. When you're young, you could sit there and be like books after books after books.
Yeah.
Do you read that much?
I do. I do read. I know people that read more than I do.
Yeah, me too. Book clubs and everything.
Yeah, I'm not a part of any book clubs or anything,
Yeah.
but I do. Sister Soldier was the first author whose books I started reading. The Coldest Winter Ever and stuff like that. And then I followed her. I think she's from New York, and I was like, wow, she wrote a book. And then I have a cousin who definitely had a very traumatic childhood. I mean, she was physically abused from her parents, then her boyfriend, lost her children. She wrote a book. So I was like, these people, other people that I admire and some family that have also completed that task, I felt like confident that I could do it too.
Yeah. I just lost my train of thought. It had to do with writing the book.
Napoleon Hill is another good one who
Yeah.
I read. Yeah. And like the 48 Laws of Power, books like that, motivational books are kind of like the genres that I tend to follow.
At what point did you say, I'm gonna write a book and actually do it? Because oftentimes, there's some folks who come up with ideas, start it, and they just finish it with no problem. But then there are a lot of other folks who will come up with an idea, start it, but then life happens, and then they never finish it.
Well, that's in the book. I can't divulge everything that's in the book.
I'm trying, y'all. Trying to get it.
I mean that's her journey and into that, and some of those questions that came up. The character is a go-getter, right? So she's, a regional manager for a corporation. So she's always been in these strong leadership roles. She's a very strong, independent, self-sufficient woman at this point. And so if she says she's going to do something, it's her willpower. That's just kind of how she is. She's going to do it. So it was put out there. She said she was going to do it, and she did. And what sparked it, that is in the book.
Love it. Love it. Love it. So, okay, I have something for you. Well, a question for you. In light of people liking to be private, right? Because oftentimes we don't want to just put all of our business out there.
Right.
But in you writing your book, because you wrote this one and you also wrote another one.
Yes.
Right? How much of putting yourself out there do you do, and how much of, like, how are you okay with that? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you struggle with that at all in terms of how you write?
I don't think that I struggle with as far as putting business out there anymore, because I understand that was a fear base that was instilled in me as a young child and a young adult, and I know that that's not the right way. And so for me, the most authentic way to set myself free is to put it out there and do the opposite.
Yeah.
So I had no problem doing that. In the book, it's not all of the details.
Yeah, for sure.
But it leans. It gives you a good picture.
Yeah.
It gives you a good picture.
Just like films.
Good insight. Yeah. But it doesn't go through every bad, traumatic thing that character went through.
Right. Because you do have to guide the narrative.
Right.
Yeah, I do understand that. No, makes total sense. Okay. And so, where can people buy your book?
So they can purchase the book on Amazon. You can go into your search engine and type in The Dew of God, DEW of God. Or you can contact me at talia.dewofgod@gmail.com, and you can request a signed copy and I can dedicate it to you, and you can send your payment over through Cash App or Zelle. Once I get the email.
Once you get the email.
Yes.
Yeah. Or the money, I guess, right?
Well, yeah. Once you send me the email and say, "Hey, I'm requesting a signed copy, and I want you to dedicate your book to me," I'll write it out how what you're asking, your preference,
like the signature,
the
like
signature,
a signed copy of it,
or maybe you want a dedication. I've done that for a couple people,
yeah.
And then I'll mail it to you, and then we can exchange the Cash App information.
Okay. All right. Sounds good.
But the Cash App is Talia Ham, so it's very easy to find that too.
Gotcha. And so, do you mind touching on the second book? Maybe we can give a little teaser on it.
Okay, so the second book is called The Quiet Work of Healing, and that's a self-healing motivational book. Similar to a journal, it gives you small snippets of a situation that the character went through. It gives you some affirmations for you to read if you can, identify with that circumstance. And then there's a couple pages for you to take notes. And then I also have in there questions, and then you can answer those questions. And it's your personal book, and you can write whatever you like in there. And I think it's going to be very good for a lot of people to have, women and men.
How did you structure this? Was this based off of your own personal experience, or was this through
personal
study? Okay.
Personal experience. And then I also put in there authors, the books that I've read, in case they want to pick up or reference some other authors that provide insight as far as motivational content.
Yeah. I got you. Okay. All right.
So it's a self-healing book.
Okay. You know, the thought that had escaped me earlier just showed back up.
Okay.
I had asked you, I was asking about what motivated you to, I guess, pretty much to do this. And you had mentioned, excuse me. I had asked you that, and you had mentioned meditation.
Yes.
How meditation, I believe, is very important. It's not good enough to just pray, for those of you who pray. Meditation is a little different. And because you're quiet. See, prayer is a bunch of requests.
Right.
You're constantly talking, casting voices out. But when it comes to meditation, there's a stillness that happens.
Right.
There's a quietness where you can begin to hear your thoughts, how fast they're going,
Right.
how noisy it is in your mind.
Right.
But then at some point, right, if you can hang in there long enough, there's a stillness that happens, right?
Yes.
And then you get answers, instructions. And is that what you experienced when you got yours?
Absolutely.
Yeah. See, that doesn't happen in prayer.
Right. All I could hear the birds chirping and different things of that nature. And I just sat with myself quietly on the floor with my eyes closed. And my thoughts just ran and left. And then, I don't know, it just came to me like a stillness.
Yeah.
You should just write.
Yeah. And for you Christians, there's way more than just the Bible. There's way more than just what your pastor is telling you.
Right.
There is what's going on inside of you. Try listening to that. That is way more real than anything else.
Right. I agree.
You know what I mean? Like, it's so important. And that is in any pastor that goes against what I'm saying, you're wrong. Because if you only want the people to just be stuck to your voice only and not their voice,
right,
then something's wrong with that picture. Don't talk to me about no other shit. That every person needs to learn how to be quiet still and hear your own inner voice.
Right.
Let that guide you. First, and anything outside of that should only be confirmation. All right, y'all? It should only be confirmation. It should never be that somebody else is coming to you with this word and that's it. Like, and you're just stuck there. No. Go to meditation. Go within. As the Bible talks about, right? It says that God is within you anyway.
Right.
So go with that. All right. Now I'm back. No, because I don't like the loops.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
That's just my natural way of being.
And you will receive the confirmations. I received the
Always.
confirmation.
Yeah.
I was like, I thought
Always.
about that. That came to me in my meditation.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm speaking from it because I've experienced it
Right.
over and still experience it.
Right.
So no, I'm not speaking some craziness.
Right.
Some new age shit. But no, I thank you for coming on to the podcast again.
You're welcome.
I have been reading some of the comments from the posts. Pretty good things. So I have a feeling that you'll probably be back on this podcast again and talk more about the book.
Okay.
I think what we probably should do though next time is really open it up to conversations and have some people call in.
I agree. I like that.
And let them ask questions about it. Maybe even to the ones who read the book already.
Yeah, I'm all for it.
Yeah, we could turn this into something. I don't know, y'all. Are we about to start up a book club here? No, this is good. Mainly because of the direction of where we're going now in society and the energy on this planet. When you look around, for me, I'm noticing a lot of people are making changes to better themselves.
Right.
Certain people that were in certain situations that are making total different changes, and you're like, whoa, I never saw that coming.
Right.
But they're more happier. Despite what other people would say.
Right.
They're much more happier. They're lighter. They're free. Spending way more time with family.
Wow.
It's beautiful to watch,
Yes, it is.
because they're choosing self.
Yes.
And I see that happening more and more and more.
And there's nothing wrong with being
Nah.
selfish with yourself.
Nah, it's not. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So this is great. I'm looking forward to your next book, talking about that and having you on talk about that as well. How can people reach you on social media?
You can reach me on Facebook. It is Do of God Publishing, and you can find that on Facebook and Instagram.
Nice. All right, y'all. Y'all heard it. And so if y'all got any questions, please post them right in the comment. We will respond to them, and if necessary, we will do another episode with those questions being asked. And if if you're up to it, we'll have you call in.
Absolutely.
All
Looking
right.
forward to it,
Yeah,
ladies.
let's do it, y'all. Let's
and
do
men.
it. And men. Yeah, and the fellas, because y'all fellas, I know y'all, some of y'all are listening, and y'all just don't want to say nothing because y'all's situation, right? Y'all can't talk up, and I understand. No doubt about it. So just give me the questions and allow me to ask them. I got you. I got you. Y'all, thank y'all for tuning into the James Paul podcast. It was a pleasure. And y'all, before you ever hit that record button when it comes to taking pictures or video, make sure you wipe your lens. Y'all take care. Love you guys. Peace.